Hi class. Tomorrow we're going to be reading Roadrunner's Dance, but before we do that, I want to go over a few things that I want you to know prior to reading the story. So first off, moral and key details. What are they? A moral is the central message of the story. So that's what the author wants you to take away from this story that they wrote. It's basically the one thing that they want you to remember. If you're only going to remember one thing, like the moral, that's it. And then the key details are the things that happen in the story to help us figure out what the moral of the story is. So there's going to be some things that the author says that are very key to helping us figure out what the moral is, and we want to keep those details in mind when we're trying to figure out that moral. And then the Roadrunner's Dance is a folktale fiction, and it's important for us to know what type of story we are reading prior to reading the story. It just helps us have a better understanding of what it is we're going to be reading prior to reading it. So if you remember, a folktale is an old story that has been passed down from generation to generation, typically by word of mouth. And fiction, we know, just means that it's made up. So Roadrunner's Dance, the events that happen in the story, they didn't actually happen. And then a protagonist versus an antagonist. A protagonist is the hero in the story. It's the main character. It's the one we're rooting for. The antagonist is the character that is against the protagonist. So they're the villain. And in Roadrunner's Dance, there's both a protagonist and an antagonist. So as we're reading tomorrow, I want you to see if, while we are reading, if you can figure out who the protagonist is and who the antagonist is based on what you know about what a protagonist and an antagonist is. And then lastly, I just want to go over some of the definitions, some words that you might not be completely familiar with. I want to get you familiar with them before we read so that you can comprehend it better, have a way better understanding of the story as a whole. So the first one, attempt, to try to do something. Awkward, not graceful or clumsy. Cooperation, the act of working together. Created, caused something to exist or happen. Furiously, to act in a way that shows you are very angry. Interfere, get in the way of something or interrupt. Involved, to take part in an activity. To include. Timid, shy, easily frightened, or not brave. And then for the rest of your homework, I want you guys to take each one of these 8 words, definition words, and create your own sentences and bring them to class. And we're going to go over some of the things that you guys came up with before we read the story, just so we have a really good understanding of what those words are. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.